God is not dead. My name is Vitale, and I'm a philosopher. I teach at Oxford University, and I'm here at the Oxford Philosophy Library to bring you just that update, that God is not dead. Not nearly. A number of popular authors have suggested otherwise in recent years. But these new atheists are generally not engaged in current philosophical scholarship. In fact, the new atheism at the popular level can be traced directly back to the old scholarship at the academic level. More recently, in the last 50 years or so, what we've had is a remarkable resurgence of professional philosophers who have thought long and hard about the evidence and have come to the conclusion that God exists. God is not dead. He is very much alive. But you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to the prominent atheist philosopher Quentin Smith. He has 12 books, over 100 articles to his name. In the year 2000, he published an article in which he blasts his fellow atheist philosophers for having lost so much ground to Christian philosophers. He says, God is not dead in academia. He is alive and well in his last academic stronghold, philosophy departments. And he goes on to say that if you took atheistic philosophers who don't specialize in religion and you locked them in a room with theist philosophers who do specialize in religion, and debates ensued, he suspects that you would have to conclude that the theists, the believers in God, definitely had the upper hand in every single argument or debate. God is very much alive in philosophy, and not only in philosophy, but in sociology as well. 50 years ago, sociology was convinced that God was on the way out. The scholars had bought into secularization theory. You know the idea. The idea is that the more modern and technological the world becomes, the more secular it will become. Peter Berger was one of the leading proponents of this theory. Today, he has completely abandoned it. At an academic conference in Miami in 2011, he suggested that the reason he changed his opinion on this matter is simply because the evidence demanded it. He says if you look at the contemporary world today, from a global perspective, it is as religious as it ever was. In fact, he goes so far to say that we're in a period of resurgence with respect to every major religious tradition. God is not dead. Probably the most influential British philosopher of religion of the last 50 years is Richard Swinburne. Before retiring, he held the head post here in Oxford. In 2003, he published a book called The Resurrection of God Incarnate. And in that book, he concludes that on the available evidence today, it is 97% probable that Jesus truly, miraculously rose from the dead, proving that he is the God that he claimed to be. Now, Swinburne recognizes that we can't take the exact percentage too seriously. He likes to work with probability theory, and so he plugs in numbers at each point in the argument. Still, though, the fact that someone of his intellectual credibility can make that claim in print, have it published by Oxford University Press, and then ably defend it at top academic conferences all around the world, as I've seen him do, speaks to the fact that the intellectual case for the Christian faith is extremely strong. I was an undergraduate at Princeton when I first realized this. And when I did, it caused me to question whether it was really intellectual obstacles that were keeping me from faith, or perhaps something else. If I was honest with myself, I had to admit that I hid in my heart what the famous atheist Friedrich Nietzsche was bold enough to put to paper. If there were gods, how could I bear not to be a god? If we think that it is our minds that keep us from God, then we may not be dealing with the arguments at the highest level. Here in Oxford, and in Princeton, and in philosophy faculties, top faculties all around the world, God is not dead. God is as alive
as he ever was.